I really like filming all my videos at once for the month coming up because then I get it all done in one night and I don't have to re-cake this face 4 different times. But because I wait a month to film again, I always forget how to film, like how to light myself, how to speak. So if you don't want a hot mess, I don't know what you're doing here. I also wish there was a way to film on an iPhone that you couldn't see yourself, because it's really hard for me not to look at myself because I'm a narcissist. That's why I have a YouTube channel. So I came up with the concept of Civil Blood at 13. So for almost 11 years, I'm working on the Thistle Wolf trilogy in some iteration. I think a lot of people know that, but I never really had another book idea. I never really gave much thought or effort into planning another book idea because this Thistle Wolf is the project of my heart and life. So that's all I've worked on pretty much ever since I started to write. But in case you missed it, Civil Blood Book 1 is out. Book 2, Accidental Evils, is with beta readers. After 1 or 2 rounds of beta reading, I'm going to start querying it. And then the last book in the series, Something Wicked, is on draft 2. So I'm working my way towards the end of Thistle Wolf and its story. And that means that I have to make a decision, or I had to make a decision, if I was going to just have written the Thistle Wolf trilogy and that was the extent of my career and that was that and that's all the only story that I had in me, or if I was going to need to start thinking of something new. And think of something new I did. So today I'd like to introduce you guys to the concept, working title, and everything that I know so far about my brand new, totally original WIP. So where did the idea for this WIP come from? I went on a cross-country road trip last summer with my mom and my Nana. My sister moved to Iowa last February, and she had a house full of stuff that she needed to be sent to her. And since we hadn't seen her, in 4 or 5 months anyway, we decided we were gonna drive everything up to her. So we drove from Central Florida to the northwest corner of Iowa. It might as well have been South Dakota. At this point in time, in late June, early July, my book Civil Blood was with my editor over at New Traditions Publishing, getting ready to get the final proof back so that we could get it into production to be released in the fall. So I couldn't really work on that until she was done with the edits. I wasn't really in a place to work on Accidental Evils, and I had not even thought about Something Wicked. So sitting in a car with no Wi-Fi, no streaming, 24 hours there, 24 hours back, I had a lot of time to think of new ideas. The month before that, in May of 2018, I went to New Orleans for the second time in my life, but the first time as like an adult. And while there, I was on a ghost tour, and I learned about the Casket Girls, which, if you don't know, were girls who were sent for by the King of France to come to New Orleans to help populate the area. And they showed up looking ghastly because they had been, under a ship for months, and they carried cassettes, or like small caskets behind them with their things in them. And that kind of started like the vampire lore type scenario in New Orleans back in the 1800s, whenever that took place. And then also around this time, I think right after I got home from Iowa, I started watching the show Pose, and I fell in love with India Moore, who plays Angel on Pose. And so this idea started to percolate in my brain of Casket Girls, but with girls like India Moore. And it's kind of set in a more modern time, maybe a retelling centered in New Orleans, because I've always been obsessed with New Orleans, but obviously I just came back from there and I was like all about writing something completely based there so that I'd have an excuse to go back for research. So my initial idea was like the Casket Girls story meets the movie The Craft, with lots of gayness, because if you don't know, hi, I'm bisexual. I have been with a man for 5 years, and I've only written a female-male love story, because I've only written the Thistle Wolf trilogy, and that is a male-female love story. But I love me some gay shit, and so I wanted to write a gay book. I wanted to write books with gay people in them. I wanted to write books about gay girls because that's a huge part of myself that, because I'm in a straight relationship, people tend to ignore, overlook, think that I'm not credible in that area. I just don't get to express that part of myself a lot. And I realized one of my favorite things to write about is assholes getting their karma, especially at the hands of the people that they underestimated or the hands of the people that they wronged in the first place. I'm a very forgiving person. I don't really hold grudges, although I am a Taurus, so that's probably a lie. But I love a vendetta story. Give me all the vengeance. And if you've read any of the Thistlewolf trilogy, you know that. So I said, okay, I've been locked into the same story pretty much my whole life. So what do I like to write about? There's parts of Thistlewolf that I still would love to keep writing about, the Southern Gothic vibe of it, the magic, the vendetta revenge scenario like we talked about. The diversity of Thistlewolf is something that I love. I love diverse books. I love own voices books. I love books where everyone is different and everyone gets represented in a good, realistic, wholesome way and not in a pandering way. And I love tight-knit girl gangs who mean business and protect each other with their lives. So with all that in mind, I decided that my first post-Thistlewolf idea would be a dark magic girl gang #MeToo revenge tale, American Horror Story Coven meets Slice of Cherry by Dia Reeves. And the working title for my new WIP is called Blood from a Stone. And I was a little hesitant at first to pick that name because Civil Blood is obviously my only book that I've ever published. So I didn't want to be like Civil Blood, Blood from a Stone, like, oh my God, blood, 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 blood. But Blood from a Stone is very meaningful to the book. I've barely started writing it. It has a lot to do with the main focal turning point of the book is Blood from a Stone. So what's the premise of this book? What is this book about that I'm about to start writing? So Blood from a Stone follows Thea Mae Raleigh. She is like this punk rock orphan who, after an incident in a social worker's office at the DCF, she is sent to the De Noche Divinity School where she meets lots of girls who are just like her in very special different ways. They're all part of an order called the Divine. They all have different powers, they all have different abilities, and she starts to form a family with some of these girls because they share something so deep and special and unique and powerful. But then when something really bad happens to one of them and they're done wrong by everyone, including the people they're supposed to trust, including the people who they thought would never let them down, Thea realizes that these girls are all each other has, and it's up to them to get justice for the one that has been wronged, no matter what the cost might be. And as for the genre, well, a bitch likes what a bitch likes. It's gonna be YA magical realism. It's inching towards NA. I'm gonna have to get second opinions on if it's young adult or new adult. It's definitely not adult, but I definitely say it skews more magical realism than paranormal. I wouldn't even say urban fantasy. There's not a lot of fantastical things that happen. It is, has to do with the magical boarding school type of place, but it's very grounded in reality, and magic is almost like an afterthought. And for those of you wondering, I do plan to make this a duology. I already have a title and like most of a plot for a second book, because this is the book of my heart. Like, I go to sleep thinking about this book. I wake up thinking about this book. I want to be with these characters all the time. I never understood this thing of like, oh, it's hard to write multiple projects at once because the characters get all like, there's like too much going on in your head. But now I totally understand, because from the minute that Thea and Ariel and Celeste and the other girls were born, they stay over here, and like River and Fina and them stay over here, but it's still like so much going on in my head. Like, I never really understood that because I only ever worked on Thistlewolf, and yeah, there was multiple books, but they're all about the same people, so it was never like that loud in my head, if that makes sense. But yeah, that is my new work in progress. I will be drafting Blood from a Stone through February and March. So if you want to know, the trials and tribulations, the progress, all that good stuff, of course, follow me on Instagram. That's where I'm the most active. But I definitely would be looking out on this channel later on in the year, probably in the summer. I see myself doing a lot of videos on what it's like to start a new project from scratch, because I don't remember. Like I said, like Thistlewolf has been in my head for my freaking whole adult life even before that. And so I really don't remember what it's like to have to flesh out a whole new idea. I'm kind of pantsing this, which is very weird for me. I never pants. I always plot like crazy. But this just feels like a totally different thing for me, and I'm really excited to explore this side of my brain, this like pantser, wild, new story. So I'm really stoked, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I make videos every single Saturday. Stay tuned for my video next Saturday, and I'll see you guys then. Bye.